let's call it as people. Let's be really honest. That was a real struggle. A real struggle. I thank David Raya for giving us something to talk about. And ultimately, look, it's a point that I would have taken beforehand. When I say taken, it always sounds so defeatist, right? Like, yep. Obviously, I would have played the game and backed us to, at worst, get a point, at best, win the game. My point is, I never thought that a draw was particularly bad to start things off. A difficult away trip, you know, one of the away trips we've got in 8 Champions League games. Obviously, a clean sheet in there's good. But, I mean, if you look at what we said on Forever Arsenal, me, Jordan, Turkish and Lee, we all predicted this exact game. Like, I mean, we do our predictions every week and, you know, we can be quite wild with them and sort of be all over the place. Hard to know what's going to happen in an Arsenal football match. But this was easily the best I've ever predicted how a game of football will go, because Arsenal was simply defence first, be sensible, you know, don't overcommit, reserve energy. There's a big one on Sunday to come. And I do think the way we approached this game was with, we have a lot of football to come in mind, and that next game happens to be a trip to the Etihad. So look, it wasn't all doom and gloom. There were some good performances in there, but ultimately a lot lacking from Arsenal in this draw against Atalanta. So let's go through it. So the 11 saw Declan Rice return with Jorginho to the bench. Apologies, I'm hiccuping. We're good. What else did we see? Jesus, right, so Jesus came in and Havertz reverted to right 8 in midfield, so where Ødegaard would have played, back 4 and goalkeeper was unchanged. Now, look, it didn't work, right? I mean, I think the first 15, 20 minutes, Arsenal were on the ball and actually playing quite well. I was actually surprised by how much possession we had, but then Atalanta grew into it and I never really felt we got any control back from it. I mean, Bukayo Saka does really well from a free kick. It's a really clever free kick. He goes low and far corner that the keeper saves. But after that, it's sort of Atalanta asking a few questions, working our centre-backs a little bit, but we genuinely dealt with it all pretty well. Second half then starts and there's the penalty shout. And I'm glad we're going into this quite early because this is the moment of the match. David Raya has made a phenomenal start to the season and we've got to talk about this penalty. Am I in the middle? No, not really. But there we go. So, David Raya, so Thomas Partey was a little bit of a grab of the arm. He wasn't having a great game, Partey. Was it on the ball first half? I think it was all right, but struggled second half for sure. Gives away a penalty because of a pull on the arm outside the box. But it kind of continues in, and there's a little bit of contact, I think, with the ankles in the back of Ederson's leg, the Atalanta midfielder. So whatever, they give the penalty. I think probably soft but right decision. No real complaints about it. Now, Retegui steps up and fires it low, so low to David Raya's right, so Retegui's left. Low, yeah, bottom left corner. There we go. Taking a while to get it out. There we go. And Raya makes a phenomenal save. It bounces back up towards Retegui, who the commentators were asking whether he should have buried it. You know, Raya, they were saying it's a great save from Raya, but should the striker just made sure there was no chance he misses it. But I just think Retegui's done all the right things. In that moment, you're thinking there's a spot, head it low, and he does all that. But Raya just springs up and just claws it out with his left hand. I mean, he's pulled off like 3-4 worldy saves already this season. It's unbelievable start to the campaign Raya's had. And I'm so happy for him. He really deserves it. 28 year old goalkeeper now. He's looking really experienced, really calm in goal, dominating his penalty area and making those top saves that I asked of him a couple of weeks back on the Goonerverse podcast, where I said, if we're to win silverware, if we're to get where we want to get to, our goalkeeper's got to have moments where he bails us out. And he has certainly had that in games at Villa Park, in games, the Wolves game, and of course this game as well, where we should have been 1-0 down. And I don't think we had any attacking impetus and quality really to go and get an equaliser if we need one. Sure, we can always turn the dials and we can always go up a level. And that was early in the half, that was by the 50th minute. So, we still had the likes of Saka on the pitch. We needed to try and do something else. But I just felt that Arsenal, again, it's not a tap. You can't just turn it on and go, right, we were defending for 90 minutes against Spurs. We know we're going to defend for 90 minutes against City. And now what's been a tricky hour or so against Atalanta, now let's just turn it on and find our creativity and our spark when we're missing the likes of Ødegaard. That didn't really work. So what else, one of my other takeaways, because, I mean, the only other big moment we'll talk about was when Havertz controlled it really well from a long ball, it made its way to Sterling. I think he sort of knocked into Sterling. And Sterling did really well. It wasn't a great cameo from Sterling, but he did really well to get the ball out of his feet and roll it into Martinelli, who should have at least hit the target. And Martinelli, it's just not happening from in front of goal at all. I was actually really disappointed by that effort. Just completely shanked it when I think he should have shown a bit more composure. How many of those misses running behind as he got before, we start to get quite frustrated. But look, still early in the season, and I believe Martinelli will get it back. But what are my other takeaways? I mean, look, I can't really talk about my criticisms of the forward line without mentioning Gabby Jesus. And actually, this is true of him. Martinelli at times, Havertz when he was right 8 in particular, I thought he was a little bit better up front. Sterling when he came on, Saka wasn't great. Nothing was sticking for the front line. And actually, you can mention midfield as well. Whenever there was an opportunity, and I thought, there's space there. Touch, settle, hit the space. Touch, settle, drive. Touch, settle, penetrate. Just make that run. Make that moment that is going to get Atalanta spinning backwards and go, oh no, we've just caught. And we never punish them. And I think a team like Liverpool would have scored 2 or 3 today. And it's funny because I know Atalanta obviously beat them 3-0 last season at Anfield. And that's why this is by no means a bad result. They're a good side, Europa League winners. 3-0 at Anfield last season, beat Leverkusen in the final to win the Europa League. It's by no means a bad result, don't get me wrong. But I just felt that there were moments where, for all our defensive resilience, which was good, we were sturdy again. We were defensively very organised again. Gabriel Saliba, brilliant again with David Raya. There was a lot to like from a defensive perspective. And I, once again, cannot question the work rate and the commitment of the players. Absolutely not. But we were lacking something in terms of sharpness and quality to go, there's space there, there's an opening, we can kill him here, we can get a moment. And the only time we really did was that Sterling ball to Martinelli, even that we kind of made a mess of it. So, yeah, I was just frustrated that I actually think if we'd shown a bit of composure in a few moments and a little bit of quality in our first touch, that we were 1 or 2 passes from being in, and Atalanta were maybe a little bit more there for the taking. I don't mind the overall approach, being quite sensible, don't lose the game, reserve energy. We've had a big one on Sunday. We've got a big one coming this Sunday. I can acknowledge all that. But if we're to get anything at City, basically, do we go another 180 minutes? Sorry, another 90 minutes, 180 minutes in total in 2 appearances at the Etihad? Do we do that without them scoring? I don't think so. We're going to need to find a goal. And I think we need to get a little bit used to creating chances from open play on the counter and having a little bit more promise in that aspect of the game. But look, I mean, ultimately, for all my slight complaints there, I think it was a pretty good... Actually, no. Before I go into the positives, actually, let me say one more negative. We are desperately missing pocket players right now. When we were at our best 2 seasons ago, you had Xhaka dropping into the pocket. Either he was advancing from central midfield or he was in that 5th lane. Ødegaard would find pockets. And I just felt that there were so many pockets that we were missing players being in today. And that was really frustrating. And again, maybe not something we can address for Man City, but something we have to address in the run of games after that. Just wanted to mention that. Anyway, positives. Look, like I said, defended well. For anyone who's watching this thinking, James, calm down, it's a good result. I'm very calm. I'm actually really not. I'm fine with this result. I really am. I mean, it's long Champions League sort of qualifying campaign to go. I think this was a fine result. I think a clean sheet's positive. Once again, we're a very resilient side. We're proving that in Europe, which is great. We got through the full 90, unlike Porto, where we sort of made a mess of it. And Bayern as well. You got to think we did actually lose our 2 away games before this in Europe. So, look, decent draw. And again, I can't be mad at it because it's exactly what I predicted and sort of expected, knowing we have these tricky away games all in a row. But the energy levels and the cohesion and the interplay needs to, the alternating of positions, the passing through the lines, the combinations, the 1-2s, that needs to get better. Nice cameo from Calafiori, I will say that. Sterling had that moment with the pass, but otherwise struggled. But very nice from Calafiori. Trossard did okay. Jorginho certainly did well when he came on, actually. Ben White, another poor game. He's really not at it at the moment, Ben. And he'll get there. He will, because we've seen for 2-3 years he's not had a bad season for Arsenal, so he'll get there. But just not quite at it. I sort of wonder if if Timber is this fit to the point where we're happy to play him game after game after game, 3 games in a week potentially, and his knee's clearly fine, you sort of wonder whether Timber could actually maybe be playing at right back a little bit to get Calafiori in the team with the way White's playing. But again, probably not a change you're going to make for City, maybe something you think about later. Then the only disappointing thing as well is that we did get to see Nwaneri. I mean, Nwaneri wasn't going to come on and give us a better chance of seeing out the draw, which I think is what Arteta was probably prioritising. But he probably was going to give us, you know, a little bit of those through the lines, like I mentioned, that we probably needed. So this match report's a little bit all over the place. Did I really give David Raya enough credit there? I mean, it's just such a sublime double save. And I think for all the, you know, talking we can do around, we could have done this better, we should have done this better, we weren't great in creating chances, our fluidity was poor, our ball retention was poor. Like, yes, a lot of that stuff wasn't great. Let the headline be that David Raya is on fire, and it's brilliant. And I'm so happy for him, and great save. And he's got us what could potentially be a vital point in what wasn't a great game, but we move, all eyes on the Etihad. And to be honest, and I hate to say this, I've just been thinking about the Etihad a lot more than this. I almost forgot, because I was watching this out of London, and on my way sort of on the train, I sort of realised, oh, Arsenal playing today. Like, it took me a second to remember that. So maybe just the Etihad is just on people's minds. But that's not, listen, that's only good enough if we go and get something there. But anyway, preview on the game against Man City coming out tomorrow on the channel, so look out for that. But there we go. Atalanta 0, Arsenal 0. Weird game, but ultimately a dull one in which we probably got a half-decent result.